Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining for our 8th Women in Animation Bay Area chapter YouTube and Q&A. This is going to be our last episode of this season, and we'll be back in the new year. So, we hope this series has provided education, resources, and a little entertainment to the amazing women, transgender, non-binary, and underrepresented gender identity communities, who want to pursue and thrive in the animation industry. So please subscribe and put down topics and questions in the chat you want us to talk about, and we will do our best to answer them. And today we're chatting with the We Bay Area Q&A, a YouTube team, about what it was like starting the series, our own fears in creating content, and how we balance volunteering while having a full-time job. So I can introduce myself first. My name is Amy Kuo. My pronouns are she, her, and I currently work at Tonko House in Berkeley as a production coordinator. And the reason why I joined Women in Animation was I just really wanted to be part of a community of strong women and help uplift other people, especially people in the BIPOC community. And I'm going to popcorn it over to Jacqueline.
I feel like we did this before. Thank you so much, Amy. Hi, my name is Jacqueline Grooven. I am currently a production coordinator at Pixar Animation Studios. I use pronouns she, her. And I am also part of the Women in Animation Bay Area chapter mentorship committee. So I've been a part of the mentorship committee since February of this year. And I joined Women in Animation first for a completely different reason, and that was because of the resources that Women in Animation had, especially as a student. I joined in my senior year of college, and I found so much just access to amazing resources and job sites through WIA. And when I actually got a job, I realized that, there's a bigger reason, and the reason why Women in Animation exists, and that's because of the lack of gender diversity in animation specifically. So I came for the resources and I stayed for the cause, and I'm currently really trying to push for this. With that, I popcorn it over to Tori.
Yeah, well, hi everyone. I'm Tori Butner. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a full-time freelance illustrator. I actually started volunteering with the WIA Bay Area right after I graduated college. I was a resident artist at this wonderful place called Nimble Collective, and a few of the people working there were part of WIA Bay Area, and they kind of sucked me in, volunteering ever since. And then I'm gonna popcorn it over to Amber.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Amber, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a designer and animator at App Living. I
Sounds good. Yeah. Can you make sure that it's on audio? Okay, cool. Joshua, do you want to go for it?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your patience and joining us today. My name is Joshua, and I use they, them pronouns. Currently, I'm excited to be a production assistant at Lucasfilm Animation. And I just want to preface that our conversation isn't reflective of Pixar or Lucasfilm's culture or structure. The reason why I wanted to join Women Animation is because I really wanted to give back to this great community. In my own personal journey, it was really difficult to break into the industry, I think, especially coming from an untraditional background studying psychology. And the WIA community has always been a great community and resource that's been very supportive. And I'm really excited that there's a lot of great organizations like Rise Up Animation that came about this year that help support BIPOC folk. But I really also appreciate that WIA carves out a space not just for women, but also folks of underrepresented gender communities, and that we're all hoping to empower everyone to thrive.
Yeah, I mean that's like really, really powerful that you all say that, and which kind of brings us to why we started Women in Animation, right? Like, what was our original goal? I know for me, when I first joined Women in Animation in Bay Area, like I just wanted to make some friends. Like, I just wanted to hang out with people in animation because I came from like tech. I didn't know anyone, so I was like, oh my god, a group dedicated to women. This is amazing. Uh, and and so I had the privilege of joining, also meeting the people on Nimble Collective. Um, and they also kind of dragged me in. And I think that's when I really met Jacqueline. And I remember after I think a chapter meeting, I was like, yo, Jacqueline, we should be doing more stuff.
We both messaged each other like at the same time.
I was like, yo, like, there's gotta be, let's like, I think we can do more. And that, because I think at the point, at that time, there was a huge transitioning happening at the Bay Area chapter. And me and Jacqueline wanted to do more. I'm not sure what your goal was, but my goal was, to just bring to because there's such a wonderful animation and just like CGI community in the Bay Area, and that's like we should bring it together. But like bringing in, and then that's when we brought in Tori and Amber, and then eventually Joshua. So, but like, what was your goal when I messaged you, Jacqueline?
Yeah, it was. I think it was very similar to yours in that I just wanted to do something. I came away from that meeting and I was like, okay, we had action items, but I think for the group of us here, we're the younger members of the chapter. And that's just something to acknowledge, that when you're volunteering in an organization that has, been around for as long as WIA has and a part of an industry, there are a lot of really well-established people that are a part of it. And going into these meetings, you can tell that your voice is going to be heard, but at the same time, you have to be the one that actually puts it out there. Yeah. They're a very encouraging community, and it's something where I think the group of us have gained so much from just being a part of this organization. But I think it was just that need to just, okay, we have this, let's do something. So when you messaged me, I was like, yes, this something needs to happen. We need to do something right now. We need to do something as soon as possible. And if possible, why don't we get other people that are similar to us in, just drive and want to be a part of this.
Yeah, like I mean that's super awesome, and Tori, like that's kind of like along the same veins as you, right? Like when we like we Jacqueline reached out to like you and whoever wanted to join, like yeah, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, part of it was also just because like we had our big meeting and it was like those meetings are always so inspiring, but then it's like what do you do with all of that inspiration and energy? So and then it was also right at the beginning of COVID where it was a rough time, still is a rough time, but everyone's stuck inside. We can't really see friends in person anymore. So it was this was definitely the perfect time to start something new and to help build like, and to help build a community for We Bay Area more with an online presence. And as soon as you guys like messaged, it was like, yes, I want to be a part of whatever this is gonna be.
Yeah,
that was pretty great.
it was super cool because I think I definitely a lot of my energy was coming from like the indie film side because I just like pretty much was almost wrapped with Let's Eat, and I was just like, why are we waiting to do things? Let's just do something. And they were just like, let's like, what's the easiest thing to do? And I remember like the first few meetings we gathered like ideas, and we brainstormed like what could it be, and we were like going all over. We're like, we're this long-term projects, and what if we could hang out in 3 months, then we could do these like review and resume events, or short film projects that we can, I don't know, mentor people to go through. And then one of them though was the Women in Animation virtual Q&A, and that was like an idea I think that stuck with us because we were like, okay, well, there's a lot of great people we can interview. There's a lot of topics that we could talk about, and I think a really big point for us was that it had to be on YouTube, or at least it had to be very accessible, because in response to COVID, and also being students ourselves, very recently, like as students we don't have money, and during COVID it's even a bigger struggle to just even get a membership or drop $50 or $25 for something. So, and also like towards the BIPOC community, like some people don't really have access to just paying for a membership like that. So we're like, it's gotta be free and it's gotta be accessible, and we gotta also have that representation, and to show people that like any of you can do this.
Yeah.
And what you all shared reminded me of like the power of youth activism as well.
Yeah.
Because I came from like an education background where oftentimes the theme was students teaching students, and the goal I think of the project that we all shared is to give back and inspire others. And I really appreciate, I guess, that we're able to pass along that advice that we were once given.
Yeah, I mean, well, Joshua, so it's interesting because for you weren't there at the beginning. You came much later on. So like, curious, like, how did you hear about the Q&A, and what made you want to join? And yeah, could you tell us like your story?
Yeah, I feel like in a way I'm a product of your core team's original goals. Because at the time I was a PA at Universal Animation in Glendale, and I had always been part of the Women Animation email list. So I had seen, the first talk that Amy and Andrea had, and I was really moved, especially at the second episode that Jacqueline hosted with Paige. Because I think coming from production management, that was really resonating with my own experience. So I just reached out to all of you all and just said, oh, thank you for hosting these talks, and initiated a conversation. And it was really cool to connect with you all one-on-one and just realize, wow, we have the same goals and interests to empower women and underrepresented gender identities through WIA. So I'm really thankful to have joined you all and get to support, because it's a lot of work to put on these talks, like to do the tech, as you can see, our tech difficulties, and audience moderated questions. So yeah.
Yeah, that's like really neat. Amber also let us know whenever.
Yeah. So I'm really thankful to have joined you all and get to
Whenever, but I'll just keep going. So with that said from Joshua, right? Like Tori and Jacqueline, was that does that ring any like bells with you in terms of what you originally wanted to get out of this, or like I mean, has the impact that you wanted to make change since the conception of when we first reached out to one another? We're like, let's do something.
Go for it.
We're a very accommodating bunch. We're a very nice bunch. We all want to hear what each other has to say.
Oh, it's because we care about each other.
This has been one of the best groups I think I've ever been a part of, if not the best group. When this started, I mean, like Amy said, we had so many different ideas. We were just a plethora of ideas, and this was just the one that we were like, okay, we can do this now. Let's do it now. And I think just starting it out and just saying, okay, none of us really know how to truly do this. We have some experience, just watching Q&As, and we were all trying to be very thoughtful, especially considering, again, this is a gender-based group, but there is a lack of diversity all throughout in culture and in race, and it's something where we really wanted to make sure we were bringing something that truly was as diverse as possible to make sure we were representing the Bay Area specifically and trying to make sure that what we had to say was something that was new added to the conversation. A lot of the talks that we had when we were first talking about it was bringing on people that didn't normally do talks, people that you wouldn't normally hear at a panel or at a convention, and we got a lot of advice from our heads of the WEAB area. Like I can't thank them enough, and I think we all would agree. Like Gail Curry and Treva Van Clark, you both really helped us in trying to make sure that we were really just pursuing that goal. So as for your original question of like, has anything changed? Yes, because I don't think I didn't expect anything from this. I was just like, okay, we're gonna do it and we'll see what happens. And then when Joshua messaged, you messaged everyone on, link. I think you messaged myself, Amy, Andrea, and Paige on LinkedIn, and all of us were like, have you heard this Joshua person? Like, they want to like talk to us, and
I
all
didn't even
these
know you all live together.
There's a group of us that live in the same house. We all were
I'm like, this person reached out to you.
So what we did, I think I was the first one to have like an initial talk with you. You've since talked with everyone else. And just hearing that you really were excited about it and that you had an interest, I think that was the first time that I had ever interacted with someone who was like, oh, I want to volunteer and I see what you're doing. How can I do this? And since then, it's been really cool to see the impact that we've had with the channel, just very unexpected, because we're not expecting anything. We don't expect anyone to watch these. We hope people do. But just the fact that these videos have been shared to groups and to channels that have specifically, have specific purposes in helping different folks get jobs, maintain jobs, and just kind of feel okay with the path that they're pursuing. I mean, I just want to keep going. So I think I still don't have a expectation. I think giving an expectation will throw it all off, but I'm just happy maintaining this course. So, I mean, I'm really excited. Now I'm really excited to hear what Tori has to say.
Well, yeah, I think it has changed a lot. Initially, I think we wanted to do one episode every week, and then it was one episode every 2 weeks. And now it's one episode every 3 weeks, which I think we've found like certain ways to make this sustainable. And one of those ways is to make sure that we're not doing too much for this one program, so that we can continue having really quality conversations. And that's probably one of my favorites. I think another one that you kind of touched on was finding people first that we know and bringing them into the loop and asking them to be on our program, which has been amazing. And thank you. If any of you are watching, thank you. It's been wonderful. And then, but moving on, because we do want it to be a really diverse program, like moving on to figuring out like, how can we reach out to people? How can we bring other people into the program as well? And I think that's one of the big things that has changed and we've really pushed for, that I've been pretty proud of. But of course, we always have more to improve. So that's one of the fun parts, is the journey of improvement.
And I also love how we are expanding the boundaries and ideas of who's in the WIA community, I think, because, it's been great having freelancers talk about their journey, or people, we hope in the future to bring people in the gaming industry or further in the tech, besides, the awesome animators, story artists, production folk in TV and feature animation.
Sure, yeah. I mean, those are all super beautiful answers, and I think this program has done a lot. Like, we've seen people actually reference to it randomly in other creative networks, like the Asian Creative Network. Like, someone who we did not know posted our videos of to someone's question, and I was when Corinne showed us that, I was super blown away. I was like, what? So it's really awesome. But with that said, whenever starting something new, it's always scary. And I'm curious to hear about what were some of your fears of starting this or joining this. Yeah, Jacka, do you have fears? Are you?
Part of me wants you to answer. I think that would be something, because I know, I mean, again, this was something where we really tried to think long and hard about what we wanted to do. We didn't want to misrepresent at all. And we wanted this, again, to have an impact in a way that other programs potentially hadn't. And I know, Amy, you and I had multiple conversations as to how can we actually do this, because there is a fear of doing something that feels just not right. And in the pit of your stomach, when you watch someone potentially giving bad advice, and you're like, am I going to be that person that gives the bad advice? But so I'm gonna throw it back at you a little bit, just because I know, just because I think we're both on the same page of the fear of just wanting to make sure that we actually have something that is meaningful to say. This is a little bit on the line of imposter syndrome, because we all have something very meaningful to say. So I'm gonna throw it back over to you.
In terms of fears, I feel like, I don't know, making Let's Eat with Animal Studios I feel like has gotten rid of most of my fear, including talking live on YouTube, where potentially thousands of people can watch, right? Mm-hmm. Either that or I'm just really vain. It's probably a mixture of both. But I think maybe at the surface level, I wasn't scared. We're like, let's just do it. Let's just make good content. And I know that we all have good advice. I know that we all have our hearts in the right place. And I know that we're all socially conscious enough to, not say really offensive things. Or, that we're really and we're also people who are constantly educating ourselves in those areas, in Black Lives Matter and women's rights and the gender minority communities and the LGBT, because I think all of us are kind of, well, except for the Black and Indigenous, we're all kind of part of those communities, but there's definitely still a fear where, yeah, are you going to say the right thing? But ever since joining this thing, I feel like sometimes there isn't a right thing, because everyone's right thing is different from everyone else's. So I guess every time I join this, go on a live chat, I just pray that I'm okay, hopefully I'll at least affect one person who is along, in that path where my words will hopefully put them in the direction that they would like to go.
Yeah, I get that. Oh, sorry.
Oh
No,
no,
go for it.
now Tori, it's your time to shine. So.
This is for people watching. This is what sometimes happens when we have our weekly chats. Is lots of apologize. Like, no, you go. But anyway, I think the biggest fear that I had when starting this was like major fear of failure. Like one that no one was gonna watch. Like not a soul, none of y'all. And then that what we were creating was not important. And like getting to I think getting was it was really really hard because just to have that stifling, it feels like you're carrying a giant like building of concrete, and it's just like kind of just doing it and saying, you know what, it doesn't matter, it's going to happen anyway, and then getting to see that it does matter and that people are watching is super important, that it is like is changing people's lives. I think is one of the most rewarding experiences that I've ever gotten to go through, so that this is definitely special.
Yeah, it's man, the phrase changing people's lives seems so dramatic, not in the way that it's like a bad thing, but it's almost like, to make an impact on someone's lives, I feel like it actually doesn't take as much effort as people think.
Mhm.
Like just, for like me being LGBT and a woman who's very butch representing, like just being on screen and be like, hey, I make animation films, I produce the film. Like just doing that, I think, has a pretty large impact. Or, having these, having all you here, right? And be like, oh, I am working at Pixar, or I am freelancing and doing my own thing after doing a terrible career or something, right? Like pursuing my love of what I want to do. I think that's a really powerful experience and a powerful thing that can do. And I feel like whoever's out there hoping to make impact, like I think it's within closer reach than you actually think. Like kind of what Joshua was saying, like how students help out students. Like anyone can, I think, help one another out.
And I guess I'm hearing all of us shared this fear of, I think, putting ourselves out there. But I think in us being our authentic selves and being transparent about our mission, we're able to be role models even, or just make others feel seen. I think that's what people are seeking. Like, oh, wow, there's someone like me doing something that I aspire to be. And I was always motivated through meeting folks in WIA, like, wow, like they're doing something I want to do. And it made me feel recharged after like the rejections I faced. And it does make you feel more empowered to overcome any fears you have and take on new challenges.
Yeah. And something super wonderful that comes with that experience is imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Spooky Halloween theme, yeah.
Yeah. I I mean, did anyone experience like imposter syndrome while creating this virtual Q&A? Like,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. Yeah,
Oh
like yeah, like Jacqueline or Amber. I don't know if you can um yeah. I I mean, did anyone experience like imposter syndrome while creating this virtual Q&A? Like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like Jacqueline or Amber. I don't know if you can um chime in, but Jacqueline, did you want to initiate?
Oh.
Or Amber?
I think I may be working. I apologize if it's delayed, though. The way the streaming works, I think my audio is just delayed. Yes. I feel like I experienced a lot of imposter syndrome during the Q&A because I was outside of the industry when we first started and joined kind of as a part-time freelance in the industry while we were doing the Q&A and having to approach other people in the industry and then also interview them and kind of approach them as like an equal, like we're both in the same industry. And there was a lot of times where I felt like I didn't belong still yet in the industry. And there's actually like a tech rehearsal where the one of the guests was asking us like what we did and whether any of it, like, were we all in the industry or were we students?
Yeah, totally. I have this strong belief that once, if you've ever become a student and you're just pursuing animation or this industry, you're automatically in the industry. Like, I think there's like in computer science, which is like my traditional background, like, you know, once you study in school, then you graduate, then you go into tech, like it's considered once you get a job that you're in the industry. But I think with art, it's like a life's journey. And like once you start on that journey, I think you're part of that industry because as an artist, you can choose to freelance. As an artist, you can choose to not be working a job and just focusing on your skill set. As an artist, you can be doing gigs for yourself or for other people, for a corporation, for a small studio, for a tech company, for, you know, I think art has no bounds to whether you're in the industry or not. And I think that's a lot of people who definitely struggled with that. I for sure like definitely struggled with that when I was starting Animon Studios, and doing my own thing because I didn't go to art school. I like didn't, you know, I was never trained in art. Um, Production was my jam. It's still my jam. Like, but like, yeah. But people were like, "Oh yeah, you're a totally professional studio," and I was just like, "What? What did I do to deserve this?" But I realized that, and I think probably you have too, Ever, that you don't need a paying job in order to be considered an artist. You just have to just do it. Studio, and I was like, "What? What did I do to deserve this?" But I realized that, and I think probably you have too, Ever, that you don't need a paying job in order to be considered an artist. You just have to just do it.
Totally. That's actually like,
It totally counts, yeah. And I think this also just like, I guess it's like really hard to say because there's like I think there's no balance because there are people who do art for themselves, and maybe it's like I think technically in a way they're still part of the industry because like art's their passion, and I think that's just that whole ecosystem of people like sharing their art on Instagram, and then there's someone from Disney who's like looking at your Instagram and just being like, that's really cool, and then, you know, and then they get inspired to do their art, and they're, you know, it's like this whole beautiful thing where people are sharing ideas, and it's like always evolving culturally, and I think that's partially why I love animation. But yeah, Glenn, Tori, Joshua, imposter syndrome. Anyone? Anyone?
To go off of everything that you both were saying, that's part of the thing that this group has been so special about, is that we've come to each other and we've really made a community amongst us. And, you know, when each of us is having an issue or is just wants to talk and wants to express some either excitement, gratitude. I mean, it's something where we have each other. That's what this group and this organization created, is something outside of a school setting, something outside of a work setting that is still a community of people that think in the same way, that like the same things. So, you know, dealing with this imposter syndrome, I mean, to kind of get ahead of myself in the solving of it, there's been a lot of just support within the community that we've created. And it's made a huge difference just being able to have weekly meetings where things happen once a week. Things happen every single day that can get you to be super stressed, super worried. Even though you're creating art, it doesn't mean it's not stressful. If anything, it's a lot more mentally taxing. And having to being able to say that in this forum is very freeing. You know, when you talk about imposter syndrome, it's not just, oh, am I good enough as an artist, but am I actually making a difference as a human being? All I do is draw. There's that meme that's going around that it's like, you know, the world's on fire and someone's yelling out into the crowd, hey, anybody want a painting? Like, that's that's art. But that is something, an imposter syndrome of like, am I actually making an impact? Is what I'm doing a reality? Am I just floating away and just not actually contributing? And the fact that communities like that would be the thing, is it's like you can do art alone. There's no one saying that you can't. And if you're able to do it alone and you're able to push through, that's an amazing thing. But being in animation, it is a collaborative process. As artists, there's a lot of collaboration. And it's like, to combat those fears, including imposter syndrome, it's always good to have a community.
Like a support system.
Yeah, I really resonate with that because I'm wrapping up my mentorship circle that's organized through WIA. And our theme of the circle is about motivation, inspiration, and empowerment. And as we are wrapping up our conversations, like you said, it's really empowering to have a group that you can be open with, honest, and get feedback, because it is hard when you face rejections, when you apply, or when you have like a difficult, sticky situation at work you don't really know how to navigate. So to have people around you who can validate you or help you work through steps you can take, even if there's no steps, the fact that you are heard is a really powerful way that I have been able to overcome like imposter syndrome. So yeah, definitely recommend applying for a mentorship circle through WIA if you haven't.
Yeah, no, we have mentorship circles. Woo! I think for this particular program, I definitely had like hardcore imposter syndrome. Like even before, like even when I was like typing out the message to send back, like, yeah, I'll join the meeting this Saturday. It was like, should I? Because it was really like, I was thinking like, am I really the best person to be doing this? Like someone else could totally do a better job. And of course, then I started coming up with ideas of like why someone else should do it and not me. But like, I think that's the trick. And like through this whole experience and like our collaborative minds, really, because I've learned so much from you guys, and you've really felt like I have like real thoughts and ideas. So like I have a lot more confidence in myself, and that's the trick. Is like every individual brings something different to the table, so you really just have to ride out that imposter wave, and you have to believe that you belong.
Yeah. Man, imposter syndrome is such a beast to like get over, and like in all of its like different ways and things like that. But like I think I recently gave, or like someone was telling me this, but like imposter syndrome in a way is like actually a sign of a good person. because those people who I think it's not great when they doubt themselves to like oblivion and can't function as a normal human being, but like when those people who are doubting themselves and like, you know, oh, am I enough? Am I doing good enough? Do I actually belong? I think they've always have this awareness of whether, you know, they're always challenging themselves in the sense like, can I be doing better? And so, and without imposter syndrome and having that like reality check is not going to, I think, strive as hard. And so for those who, but like, you know, I guess the key here is like to find that sweet balance where like you can check yourself without giving yourself so much anxiety that you can't do what you want to do. And for us, it's making an impact and helping those in our community where we can, and uplifting those who didn't have their resources before.
Yeah, I think going from like a fixed mindset to a growth mindset is something we all have worked towards together. And like you said, not being narcissistic in animation is a good thing.
Yes, yeah, that does not help. Yeah. I know we are running out of time. So should we just jump right to how people can get involved with women in animation?
Well, we could talk a little bit about boundaries for volunteer work. I think that's super important, unless you really do want to like.
Oh no, I'm down. Yeah, I well, interesting because I feel like I have a lot to say on how to determine boundaries.
But you're a healthy example, so I think your story is something to be shared.
Yeah, so I think all of us have full-time jobs, um, and uh, well, I'm not doing this anymore actually. So that's part of my story of setting boundaries. So at the time though, all of us are doing full-time jobs and we're doing this on the side, meeting every Saturday from 1 to 1.5 hours. We just love talking. It's probably 2 hours. Yeah. Like we just like love talking to each other and like, things like that. Um, and I think for me, even though it was a very hard decision, I at the time, maybe 2 months ago, was just starting at Tonka House and was with a new job and also like doing a lot of growth in my personal life. Um, just wasn't having enough time for that to do real growth, and I was actually noticing like resentment building up. And that's something where, like, despite how amazing this group was, I was just like, resentment, that's not normal. Like, that shouldn't be happening. And so I had to make the really difficult call to be like, hey, everyone, like, I hope you understand, but I need to take a step back from the group, just so that I can focus on myself. And I know all these people believe, deeply that, like, in order to be a leader and to set an example and to take care of other people, you have to take care of yourself first. And being a leader and wanting to be an example, I was like, okay, well, damn it, I have to do that. Which I'm really glad I did. So setting those boundaries and and being okay with, I guess, yeah, it was a hard struggle because like be okay with not, say like that's I think when my real imposter syndrome came in, because I was just like, oh man, I'm not making an impact. I'm not, helping out the people I said I would help out. I feel like I being a coward for backing down and for, not finishing what I set out to do and not seeing this through. Um, but I think with a lot of consolation from friends and this group, that there would be space for me to come back when I was ready. And in the end, and what's going to be awesome is that me becoming a better person so that I can have a more clear mind to find the right guests and ask the right questions and bring in topics that people want to listen to and give the visibility that people, I think, are sometimes starved to see. So that was my journey of setting boundaries for the Q&A. But yeah, I have to come back for season 2. That's like a plan. Yeah. So
Yeah, no, I think it's so important to be able to set boundaries, especially for volunteer work, but even in your personal and like work life, just because like it's like I feel like if you don't set those boundaries, you just get so burnt out. So it's super important to like sustain a healthy balance. And I know for me, like setting aside time every Saturday for an hour and a half, we're getting better. Our meetings are supposed to be an hour. We're like almost there. We've almost cut it down. We're so close. But it has it's definitely like when you start to feel that fatigue and that burnout. I know just this past week I was like, you know what, guys, let's take Halloween off. So it's
wow, taking a break, what a concept.
well, yeah. I mean, I think that was the whole idea behind why we're doing seasons too, really, is because having that natural break is a way for all of us to recharge. And then it's also like this is volunteers, so it's really important. Like we want to be that support for people do really well in what they want to. So being able to have that in this group is just so important.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, and it's
go for it, Jacqueline. No.
To go off of it too, like this isn't, I think for all of us, this isn't the first time we've done something like this in terms of an outside project, either outside of school or outside of work. Like, I know for me, I've had a hard time saying no and actually putting up boundaries in the past. And I've held, so, like you said, Amy, so much resentment, so much regret, so much stress of just staying on something when I know I don't have the bandwidth. And even accepting a project, you know, if even though you're excited, like this is something where there's so many passionate people in our industry, like even like, again, this is specifically a volunteer project, but this totally applies to everything else. Balance just in your life and doing things outside of what you're supposed to be doing on your day to day. And I know that this is probably like the first real successful project I've ever been able to do outside and maintain. Like, you know, again, like Tori, like everyone said, we've been meeting every week since February, every single Saturday. We all have fun, but it's like there's still an hour every Saturday that we're working and that we're thinking and we're having an actual conversation as to what we're going to do the next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks. And that's a commitment. And it's something where, again, this wasn't the first time that I was a part of an outside project. This was multiple times, multiple projects later that I was finally able to say, you know what? I can only meet after 10 o'clock on a Saturday because I want to sleep in on a Saturday. So being able to tell the career, hey, everybody, I need sleep. That was a big deal. That's a huge deal to just say that, hi, this is what I can do. This is what you can expect of me. Otherwise, I'm going to have, there's not that there's going to be an issue, but there's something to discuss. And so being open and honest about those boundaries from the very beginning has been, I think, an essential part of this.
And that just shows so much strength. Like, I think I actually have a lot more respect for people because I know that, like, if they can hold themselves accountable in that way where they're like, yeah, no, I can't perform that or can't do that because, well, they don't even need a reason. They're just like, I can't do that. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And now I know where your boundaries lie. And I know, like, how I can line up with your boundaries if I can at all. And if we are able to compromise or whatever. So like that just like it just makes it so much more clear of like how can I work alongside you or like, you know, do something that I'm really passionate about and set expectations. So I think boundaries are awesome, especially when we can communicate them very well. And also because also they're within reason too, right? Like, there's so many times when people will ask you, like, hey, can you work for me for free, like, and work 40 hours for 2 years on equity for, like, a project?
No.
And, like, is that, like, cool? And you're just like, that's a really important, I don't care what project it is, that's a really important time to say no. Like, unless you were, I don't know, you were, like, somehow getting money on the side from something, I don't know, real estate. But, like, yeah, like, saying no to that, right, is, like, really important. So,
what
yeah.
you all shared too reminded me of, like, in our mind we have these giant hurdles, but in reality they really aren't. I think especially when it comes to the difficulty for asking help, like if you feel stretched to your limit and you don't really think, oh, I can't push this back because I'll burden someone else, but in reality if you ask, the other person is able to be flexible and accommodate. I think we've all worked to get better at not being afraid to ask for help when we need it. And the team dynamic as well, because, you know, like, our goal is to sustain ourselves and sustain the work we do, not kind of like fizzle out after one great season. We want to come back for season 2 in the new year. So by giving ourselves the permission to process what we've done, like get feedback and avoid burnout, we can come back stronger. And I think that helps too, that we don't guilt trip each other for taking time off or needing a break. Like, it shows a healthier dynamic that we want to accommodate and are flexible. And people should probably remove themselves from side projects if they feel guilted into staying.
One another for like taking a break. Like, if anyone's doing that, there's gotta be some talks right there. Like, you were like, why is that happening? And like also ask, like, are you projecting, like, possibly, like, hey, can we get the source of that? Because it's not okay to guilt trip someone, especially if you're setting a boundary. Like, that's not okay. So with that said, was there, out of this project, like, what was there anything that you didn't expect would happen? I mean, for me, it's like pretty simple. I didn't expect that I was gonna leave, so like, that came out of nowhere, not nowhere, but I was just like, oh, I didn't.
You mean go on sabbatical or hiatus? Because you will come back.
I will come back. It was I will come back. Yeah, but I didn't expect myself to like leave. I guess like that early, not early, but like I was just like, oh, I thought I could hold out, but I was just like, no, I can't do this. So yeah, but anyone else?
One of the things I didn't expect was just like how much like enjoyment I got out of one, getting to know everyone on our team. That before I had been a member of Women in Animation and doing the social media, but it was such like a lonely position. Like, I think I met with Tori once on a Zoom call, and then I just like posted to the channels, and we didn't have much interaction with the other people in WIA. And then also like how much fun it was to like do the interviews and get to know other people in depth that we had either introduced to each other or and just hear from other people working in the industry around animation with different perspectives.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I really didn't expect to become friends so fast. That was
Wow,
honestly
rude.
really okay. No, but it's because like there haven't been too many projects like this where we've had such open conversations, and I feel like all of our conversations are really in depth, and like, at least I don't want to speak for everyone, but I am like not afraid to share my thoughts and ideas. And this is like one of the first times that I'm able to do that openly and freely without worrying about like if I'm going to say something wrong that might be bad in some way. But just to be able to have these conversations has been absolutely amazing, and I didn't expect to grow so much.
I love that. I think it's something.
Tori always wants to make me cry.
Yeah. This is the point where we tell everyone we have cried like all together because we were just so expressive about how much we appreciated each other. We've been very honest, and like to go off of it, it's like I didn't expect it, like from the get-go, but I also didn't expect just how much you get from volunteering. Like I'm saying it because it's like I feel like we need to like give ourselves a pat on the back. We meet every Saturday to talk about how we can actually like improve what we do and improve the industry and like have hard conversations. And that's not something that everyone does. And it's like, why do we do it? Because we get enjoyment from it, and because we actually are seeing that it has an impact. And it's like, I didn't realize that was a thing. Like, I knew I was getting resources. I knew that I got something from WIA. Being a part of the mentorship program as a mentee myself, I knew that I got a lot out of it. But then once I finally got to the other side of actually being the person that collaborates and helps implement ideas that will help future people, future animators, future industry folks, if you just future producers, future anything, it's something that I didn't expect would actually bring such an important sense of fulfillment in my life. And it's really cool to kind of now being in the position that I am, I'm able to talk about it a lot more and actually talk about the impacts of volunteering and how it can really, like when you have the time for it, it can make a huge difference on your life and it just feels good.
Yeah, you're doing something that you're passionate about, not something you're obligated to do, I think, as well. And I've been really inspired by all the kind of, I guess, sister organizations we have. Like I've been meeting a lot of really inspiring students who do their own talks and clubs, and to be able to build camaraderie, build bridges, and share advice with each other has been really powerful, I think, for me. Because I'm inspired by their youth activism as well. There's great organizations that came up besides Rise Up Animation, like Asian Queens in Animation, who support also Asian women and non-binary folk. And then I've also met great students from SCAD, and they have their own producers club. So it's exciting to collaborate with each other and learn together.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So I guess like, with the theme of like volunteering, how did we all get involved with WIA? How can people get involved with WIA? Is that a thing? Yes. Who wants to start?
We'd love to hear from you if you resonated with our story. Feel free to connect over LinkedIn. We'd love to meet one-on-one, or, to email us as well. I think there's a lot of great opportunities to help with marketing, or if you have an interest in finance, definitely reach out to us.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for me, I got sucked in right in the beginning. And I actually started out in social media, and it was a total learning experience. I hadn't done social media before. And Leah kind of let me try and figure it out, and I did. Well, mostly. And I got to have that experience. So if you guys are looking for different volunteer experiences, this is one of the best places to be. So I would, definitely reach out, email, social media, post in our YouTube comments. But we will respond back.
You can also sign up to be a mentor. Curious out of everybody that's watching, we do have Women in Animation has a lot of programs that do exist, so you can actually go through the website to look and see what you can actually be a part of. But the mentorship program that Joshua had mentioned is such a great program to not only be a mentee but also a mentor. So even if you feel as though you're just starting out in the industry, what can I say to someone? You have plenty to say. So I would encourage, if anything, if WIA is not the place to volunteer at a place that you feel as though you have a connection to. That's the biggest thing with organizations like these. All of us are here for a very specific purpose. But there's other people that aren't here because this is not what they're focused in. Like, again, what Joshua said, there's so many other organizations to be a part of. Find the one that really resonates with you, because you will work so much more harder for that than you will for something that's like an offhand shoot of, just the idea of, oh, I want to volunteer. It's like, you can volunteer here, but put it in a place that you really feel passionate about. Reaching out through the website, reaching out through the different programs that we have is always a plus.
Yeah, and I like to add to that, like, if Women in Animation does resonate with you, also, but there isn't a position, but there's something that you like to do to add to Bay Area chapter, kind of like what happened with this program, right? Like visual Q&A did not exist until me and Jacqueline just simultaneously messaged each other, like, we got to do something. Like, if you have an idea that you like to contribute, email us, and let's try to make things happen. You got to start somewhere, and it's not going to happen until someone starts it.
and don't be afraid to like just cold email. I know that's how I got involved in the women in animation in general, and I think it took a few months before anyone responded because I wasn't real specific about what I wanted to do, but when a position, like when they had something available they needed a volunteer for, I definitely got an email to reach out. So if you're emailing and you're not hearing back, like don't get discouraged. Like just keep responding and keep looking for other ways, or maybe try to be a little bit specific about how you could help or how you think your skills could get used.
Yeah. With that said, I guess we can get some questions from the audience. Tori, did you have some?
Oh, you're muted.
Muted. Classic. It's okay. We still.
There we go. Sorry, guys. We have a question from Rebecca, and Sylvester is asking as well. Is it true that mentor circles don't start up again until August? That's what's on the website right now.
Right now, the website should be under construction. This is not like breaking news, because things can always change. But their mentorship circles should be done for the rest of the year. So you kind of just holding off right now. But they should be starting back up in the spring. However, this is not an official, like things are starting up in the spring, as things can change. But I would say mentorship circles will start up next year, hopefully much sooner than August.
But also don't be afraid to like email one of us and I don't know, maybe get a mentor. You never know.
Casual mentors are the best thing ever. And if you have teachers, if you have anyone in your life that's even remotely close, I know that you have different mentors for different things in your life. I know I have more mentors than I have hands, more mentors than I have fingers. And each one I go and I talk to, I always ask different things. You don't have to wait for this mentorship circle to have a mentor as well.
Yeah, I think that's really true. Like you don't like there's a mentor for different kinds of things. The mentor for life, for career, for your skill set, for how to work in a team, or general like life mentor. Like how do I grow as a person? Like so many different kinds.
Check out Amy's great conversation with Jen on the YouTube channel. They really went over great mentorship tips that were inspiring. So
Jen has some really great things to say. So for sure. Cool. Are there any other questions?
There are no other questions. However, if anyone wants to ask more questions, feel free to reach out or post in our YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, for tuning in and patiently waiting with us through tech difficulties.
Yeah, so I guess that's the end of our Q&A. So thank you all for joining us today for the last episode in our first season. Many more to come next year, and I'll definitely be back. So please subscribe to this channel to look out for those alerts and to our social media, because we'll probably definitely be advertising when we're going to wrap up again. Send us your ideas of what you'd like to hear, see, do, or different activities other than Q&As. Like, love to hear that too. But I guess, with that, we will see you in the next year.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy Halloween.